Alrighty, everybody. It is currently Saturday, January 3rd, 2026, and I'm coming at you live from a Winky's Diner in Los Angeles. And you know what? I'm glad you came to this diner because I've been having this dream lately. It's only happened twice, but it's the same dream both times. You know what I mean? And in the dream, I'm sitting where I'm sitting, and you're actually sitting where you're sitting. It's the crazy thing about this dream. Um, and I'm just like, I'm paralyzed with fear in this dream. And I'm freaking out. My heart's beating through my chest and I don't know what's going on. And then I look at you and you're even more scared than I am. And that's what actually makes me scared. It's not some unseen force. And then, like I said, I've had the dream twice. And the second time I had this dream, I realized there was this guy and he was standing behind us and just staring. And I don't know where that was gonna go. Obviously, if you don't know, that was me uh, doing a poor reference to the movie Mulholland Drive, which I watched. I watched last night. I watched it. What was that? I probably put it on at like 10 p.m. and it's like a 2.5 hour movie, so it stopped at like 12:30. And I will say it's a good movie. They say it's like the best movie of the 21st century or whatever. I don't know if it was made in the 21st, but they say it's like the best movie of all time or whatever. And I mean, it's good. It's a good movie. I will be spoiling it a little bit just because I wanted to talk about it. It's an interesting movie, but it's not a great movie to watch at that time of the night. You know what I mean? It's not great for that. It's not necessarily like a boring movie, you know, but it's not I don't know, there's really like not a lot of pace to it and it's a lot of quiet talking. I think that's the ultimate thing that makes it like a good going to sleep movie. There is a couple jump scares in the movie and I probably will be spoiling some parts of it, but I don't know. I feel like I don't know if you want to watch it or maybe don't watch it. I don't know. It's not, like I said, it's a good movie, but overall, it's like I don't know. I feel like the people who say it's the best movie of all time have like a degree in film, and it's like that's cool. You know what I mean? Have a degree in film or whatever. But at the same time, I shouldn't. I shouldn't have to have a degree in film to be like, this is the best fucking movie I've ever seen. You know what I mean? I shouldn't have to fucking whip out a steno pad or whatever and start writing shit down to be like, this is the greatest movie ever. I should just be able to watch it and be like, it's a great movie. And it's a good movie. I would even go so far as to call it great. But the overall feeling I get in that while watching that movie is tantalizing. I was gonna say tantalization, but I don't know if that's a word. It's a very tantalizing movie overall, I'd say. I don't know if this is a spoiler or a warning, but I will say that the blonde never munches the brunette's rug. And she has a rug on her. All right, we do get to see the rug. We do get to see I don't know who the chick is that plays the brunette, but we do get to see her big bush. And I was quite happy about that. I do feel like there's a lot of bush symbolism in this movie. You know what I mean? A lot of vaginal symbolism. Like if you've ever seen the movie, and I'm not going to try to explain it at all, but there's like this blue box that one of the characters has, and like one of the characters has a key, and they're like, "Oh shit, that this key goes in this box," but the key is like triangular, and so is the keyhole, and so I don't know, like a triangular hole. It it, it had me thinking about pussy symbolism. I think there was a fair amount of vagina symbolism in this movie, but I don't know. Maybe I was just horny watching it. And I will say there is a lot of horniness in this movie. And that is because overall it is kind of about a sexual relationship between two women. I mean, it's fucking hot, dude. I don't know what else to say. The two chicks are very, you know what I mean. These ain't real lesbians. You know, these are like two hot chicks that David Lynch was like, I want to see these fucking, I want to see these broads make it. That's it. These weren't like real, crew cut wearing, sweatshirt wearing lesbians. These were like just actor chicks who were like, I'll do anything to be famous. Um, yeah, it's kind of a mixture of The Big Lebowski and Pulp Fiction. That's how I describe it. Like there's a lot of dream sequences. I'll say that, or you could view it as dreams, uh, and just a lot of weird shit going on the entire movie. And I don't know. I feel like at a certain point, a lot of these directors are just like fucking with people, right? They're just like, I know that if I make this movie weird in a certain way, then people are going to say it's like the greatest movie ever made. You know what I mean? If I make something that it's kind of like what Terry Davis said. Um, Terry Davis said, an idiot admires complexity and a genius admires simplicity. Um, I don't know exactly how true that is, but I think it's true to a certain extent, especially with this movie. 'Cause it's like it's just I feel like we're doing like complex extra bullshit just for the sake of it. It does it's entertaining to watch all the extra bullshit, but I do think in terms of like finding the meaning of the movie or whatever, he was just like fuck it, I'm just gonna fuck with these people and throw this bullshit in there. And now he's dead, so we can't even fucking ask the guy like what it all was. And I don't even know if he knows. Like that's the general vibe I get from the movie. But it is a very like I've never seen a movie quite capture like the feeling of a dream like that since The Big Lebowski. Like I think The Big Lebowski did a good job at that, like capturing just like the essence of the dream. And I think this movie did a good job at that. I think that's why it's so. I think a lot of other movies like try that whole dream thing and they just don't do a very good job at it. They'll make it like real life, and that's not what a dream is. A dream is like it's Kafka-esque. Like that's what the movie is like, and that's what most dreams are like, where it's like there is logic, but it's not like real, like grounded in reality logic, if that makes sense. And that's what the movie's like, and that's what most dreams are like. Um, or at least most of my dreams. I don't know. Most of my dreams are like, it makes sense in the moment. And then when I wake up and if I remember the dream, I'm like, how did I end? What was I like? Why did I do that? How did I end up in that situation? Like that's what most of my dreams are like. And that's what this movie is like. For most of it, I'd say almost for all of it. I will say, I do think that this movie inspired a lot of A24 movies. It has like kind of that not completely nonsensical, but a hard to follow, non chronological storyline. Just weird like things that are supposed to be symbolism, but it kind of feels a little bit shoehorned in. Uh, Fucking lesbians, obviously. I feel like that's a big theme amongst A24 movies is lesbians. We got some. This movie is mostly about lesbians, and it's not. It's pretty hot. I won't lie. There's some hot lesbian scenes in this movie. Great titties. I'd say all around. Every pair of naked tits that you see in this movie is a great pair of tits. So you got to give David Lynch a little bit of credit for that. Just having he wasn't busting out a pair of pit bull tits. You know what I mean? Like when a pit bull has like 10 litters of dogs, and then some like white lady adopts her, but like the pit bull still has like those big old swinging tits. There was none of that in this movie. Great perky tits all around. Um, Light nipple play, if I remember. So I've seen uh, maybe nipple play is some sort of like esoteric movie symbolism that I don't understand because I've seen it. I saw it in The Outlaw King, which that's a fucking movie about Robert the Bruce and like the Scots fighting the English. So I don't know why the nipple play was in. I don't know. Maybe directors are just really into nipple play. I don't know. Maybe there's some like connection there. But if I remember correctly, this movie does have like some slight, at the very least, like nipple rubbage. Um, and yeah, there's this one scene in the movie. Um, Spoiler alert. So they unlock the box, and you kind of find out like that the whole Rita Betty thing is kind of just like a dream that Diane Sawyer or whatever the fuck her name is, Diane Slaw, or fucking some shit like that. Diane. You find out like the whole Betty Rita timeline and their misadventures and all that shit is just like this fantasy. Maybe not necessarily like a sleeping dream, but like a fantasy that Diane's having in real life. Um, and you find out that Rita and Betty are dating in real life, and that Rita is actually Camilla Rhodes and all that stuff. Like a fair warning, there were spoilers in here. And even if you hear the spoilers, I'd still say go watch the movie. See if you can fucking figure out what the fuck is going on, because I certainly can't. But you find out that um, Rita and Betty are dating in real life, like I said, in the characters. But eventually, Camilla, aka Rita, breaks up with Betty, aka Diane. And Diane's like, she's in a dark place already to begin with in this movie. She's already freaking the fuck out, going like full schizo. I don't know if she's like, I mean, she's an actress, like kind of a failed actress, so I don't know if she's on like meth or some shit like that, but she's fucked up. And so I think if I remember correctly, this is after Diane pays the hitman to kill Camilla. I don't really remember. But anyway, at some point in this, Camilla breaks up with Diane, and then Diane hires a hitman to kill Camilla. And all of this is really setting up this one scene where we see Diane, aka Betty, on her couch, just like kind of like staring at the ceiling and crying. And she's like kind of like, like that. She's like kind of making a noise like that. And the camera slowly pans down. And fucking Diane is hitting like the DJ spin. You know what I mean? She's hitting the DJ spin on the pussy. And then she just starts she starts slapping her pussy, and I was like, she's beating that pussy up. Like literally beating her pussy, like punching her pussy. It's fucking hilarious. It was probably, I feel like there's a few scenes in the movie where I laughed out loud. That was one of the scenes. It was fucking hilarious. She's like literally like full on like slap boxing her pussy. And that was probably, besides like the end of the movie, it was probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. And that's all towards the end. I'm not even getting into the whole opera where it's actually a tape recording shit, which I think that whole scene, you guys haven't seen the fucking movie. But yeah, I think that was supposed to be, there's some little fucking whatever. No one gives a shit about my opinion on the movie. No, like I said, I don't think the movie is meant to be understood. And I think that's David Lynch's whole thing, right? With like Twin Peaks or whatever, where it's like it's not supposed to be satisfying. You're not supposed to understand it or whatever. And it's like, to me, when like that's the deeper message behind a movie, it's like the movie can still be good. Like I said, Mulholland Drive is still good. Obviously, Twin Peaks is still good. But when that's the overall like message behind the movie, is like sometimes there's not a point, or sometimes there's like no greater meaning to everything. It's like, then just like kind of make that obvious. You know what I mean? Like Mission Impossible. Like that's my example for it. It's like Mission Impossible has like really no deeper meaning behind it. It's just Tom Cruise running around having a grand old time or whatever. And it's obvious. It's obvious that you're not going to figure out the meaning of life watching this movie. And I know some fucking pretentious asshole out there is going to be like, the meaning of life is that you can never really find the true meaning or whatever. And it's like, okay, dude, then what am I supposed to do? Kill myself? Is that what you want me to do? Or do you want me to just like go through and like be like this hedonistic fucking creature just crawling through life doing whatever my instincts tell me to do? Is it because those are like the two options if you're saying there's no deeper meaning to life? And I find that a little bit like annoying and lazy. Um, but if that's not the point, which it very well could not be the point, then I don't know what the fucking point of the movie is. And to be fair, I'm really not the person who should be trying to. I've never understood like any symbolism or like any deeper message behind any movie I've ever watched. Like you'll watch fucking, you'll watch like Goodwill Hunting or some shit, and people will be like, it's about the military industrial complex. And I'm like, how did you. The guy's fucking arguing about apples and like lying to a dude about being molested. How the fuck did you get the military industrial complex from that? Um, yeah, like I said, very quiet movie overall. A lot of whispering, a lot of like, not a lot of like music or anything like that, like background music and shit. Dark, like dark in terms of the themes, but also in terms of like the literal lighting of the movie. It's all pretty dark, and so it's a pretty. I would say if you're gonna watch that movie, watch it when you know you're gonna like not be on like the edge of falling asleep, because that's what I was for most of that movie. But then the two hot chicks started making out, and I was like fully awake. I was awake in more more way than in more ways than one. I was amped up. I almost started hooting and hollering. I almost said a hoo hoo hoo, hell yeah! Like I almost, because I mean, it's great overall. As like you know, I did the porn ranking, and in that, I revealed that my number one was a lesbian. Always has been, always will be my personal number one. Um, and so yeah, I was pretty hyped up about that. Connoisseur, like I said, I'm a sommelier of sorts. I'm a Somalian of sorts when it comes to fucking hot lesbians. And I will say this, in terms of movies, I would say this tops the charts in terms of like the hotness of the lesbians and like how they're doing it and all that stuff. But it is pretty warm out, I will say. It's like conspiratorial, like an Eyes Wide Shut almost. Like Eyes Wide Shut, it was pretty obvious what Kubrick was doing there, revealing like the Freemasonry and how like there's like these weird shadowy figures that control y- like the movie industry and shit from behind the scenes. Um, it was pretty, or not the movie industry, but like just everything. Everything is controlled by like these weird, cult people from behind the scenes. But Mulholland Drive took a little bit of a detour from that. Similar similar in spirit in the sense that it's about like the people who control things from behind the scenes, but it's a little bit more sterile the way that David Lynch does it. I think it's the same thing. I think it's the same thing of him being like, these fucking like these movies and shit. They're not actually they're not actually like some fucking piece of anti-establishment art form or whatever. It's like a big Hollywood movie isn't that. I think that's what David Lynch was trying to say there. But so that whole part's really the movie overall. Like I said, I don't know if I would call it super interesting. If you want to, you know, do what everyone else does and like analyze it and all that stuff, then it could be a little bit more interesting. But I think if you're just going in like being like, is this a good movie or not? Like just straight up, is this a good movie? It's a good movie. Not super interesting, but tantalizing. You're like, ooh, what is that? What is that? Um, yeah. So that's the overall vibe I got from that movie. Big old titties, bush. I mean, which I'm a fan of. I know some people aren't, but I'm a big fan of that. So I quite enjoyed the movie. Um, yeah, I don't want to go into it anymore. Not because I'm gonna spoil it or whatever. It's like a 20 or like 30-year-old movie at this point. So I mean, if you haven't seen it yet, I don't know. That's kind of on you. Um, it's so funny to say that as someone who watched the movie last night, being like, if you're behind me by even a fucking microsecond, then you're just a loser, and you need to stop trying at anything you're doing. If you're even slightly worse than me at anything, then you're garbage. But like I said, I did drop a couple spoilers in there, but I'm just it's hard to explain. It's a hard to explain movie, and like I said, I do think that's like part of the reason why people think it's so good. It's like I can't. You just have to watch it, and I do think I like yeah. If a movie's like kind of if you can't like if you can explain a movie in 2 sentences or whatever, then yeah, it's probably not like a great movie or whatever. But if I gotta whip out the fucking what I mean, the laptop and start typing away like I'm a goddamn secretary or some shit, then I feel like it can still be a good movie, but at the same time, it should be a little bit more intuitive. You know, like that's just my feeling on like art as a whole. I feel like it should be intuitive. I shouldn't have to sit there and like I think about it a little bit, but I don't know. If everyone's fucking arguing about it and shit, and no one can even begin to decide on like uh like a cohesive understanding of it, then I don't know. Maybe you were just doing bullshit for the sake of doing bullshit. Maybe you were just spilling buckets of sand. And it's not like that. It's not like other pieces of like contemporary art where it's super simplistic and you're just supposed to extrapolate all these things out of some dude, you know, filling up a 5 gallon bucket with an eyedropper until it's full. It's not like that. It's still a good movie. But I think the greater, like, I don't know, like zeitgeist or whatever it's created is a little bit annoying and gay. Same with David Lynch same with movies as a whole. I feel like movies as a whole has created like this environment of like gayness where people just want to argue about it and be like, no, it's about this, no, it's about that. No, it's about two fucking lesbians making out with each other and they didn't eat each other's fucking rugs, and that kind of pissed me off a little bit. That's what the movie's about. The movie's about whatever the main chick is, whatever the brunette chick is, who kind of looks like Michael Jackson. That's what was really throwing me off. I was like, this is hot. These two chicks are hot and they're making out with each other and they're rubbing each other's titties and stuff, and that's hot. I do enjoy that. But at the same time, whatever her name is, let me see if I can find her name real quick. The brunette chick does kind of a little bit. She's got an MJ nose, I'll say. The rest of her face, she also kind of has that MJ hair. The rest of her face isn't like full MJ, but she's got a little bit of MJ going on. I don't know how I feel about that. Fucking Billy Ray Cyrus. Billy Ray Cyrus is in this movie. Yeah, Laura Herring. She's got something Michael Jackson about her face. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't leave her alone with the kids. Which, by the way, Michael Jackson, not a pedophile, didn't do that shit. But not the point. Point is, she looks like Michael Jackson, and that was throwing me off a little bit. I was like, this is hot. I am, but like a little bit confused. Which maybe that's what David Lynch was going for. Maybe David Lynch was just trying to give everyone confused boners. you know? I think that was David Lynch's over. If that was his goal with this movie, if David Lynch's goal was to give me a confusing boner, where I was like, this is hot, but like, I'm waiting for this bitch to hit a hee hee or something like that. That was if that was David Lynch, if that was what that boy was shooting for. I would say great job overall. If it's not, still a good job. Definitely not, the best job I've ever seen. Tropic Thunder is still better. Tropic Thunder is still better than Mulholland Drive. If David Lynch wasn't just trying to give me confusing boners. But I think it overall paved the way for like annoying movie people and shit. I think that's the ultimate outcome of Mulholland Drive, and I think that's what takes the movie from being a great movie to just a good movie. The fact that it really opened up like a new fucking floodgate for annoying people to make like shitty, confusing movies and be like, no, you don't understand it, because it became so like mainstream and stuff. And to the people who are doing that, like all I have to say is make the fucking movie entertaining at least. Like I said, this is a pretty entertaining movie overall. If you're gonna do a bunch of like confusing, like artistic bullshit or whatever, it's like cool, do that. I don't understand art and I never will. So it's like cool, fucking do that. But at the very least, you like being mad at people for being like you're not watching the movie and you're not going and like trying to understand it or whatever. And it's like, yeah, dude, I'm not gonna waste 2 hours of my time watching this movie about fucking, I don't, I don't know, trans people who are really good at like doing flips on trampolines, so that I can understand like the Iran-Iraq war. I'm not. You got to make it entertaining for people to watch it, and I think that's what most of the fucking like dumb like art movie people aren't understanding about it. They're not understanding that at its core, a fucking moron like me can sit down and be like, yeah, I'm gonna watch Mulholland Drive. If a dude with a Delco accent can't find some level of entertainment in your movie, then it's not a good movie. That's where I'll leave it. If a dude wearing a Vince Papale throwback jersey can't sit down on his couch in his grandma's basement and go, yeah, I think we're gonna watch Mulholland Drive tonight, and then like be entertained by it, then I think it's not a good movie. And I think that's what makes Mulholland Drive a good movie. Because at my core, I am Oh, sorry for blowing my nose. At my core, I am like a retarded dude from Delaware County, Pennsylvania. Right? And like that's the essence of the spirit I have. And so I was entertained by that movie. And so I'd say it's a good movie. I think that's one of the benchmarks for a good movie is that retards are able to watch it and enjoy it. Even if we're not able to fucking, fully understand it or whatever, even if we can't follow it all along, and even if we are at the end, like, yo, what the fuck was that ending about, dude? I didn't fucking understand that shit, man. It's fucking stupid. Let's go watch the Eagles game. Let's go watch it. Let, let's go watch Donovan McNabb highlights, That, that that's the benchmark of a good movie. I'll say is that retards are able to watch it and be like, yeah, that was fucking. They didn't understand the ending. I don't know what all that bullshit was about, but it was a fucking decent movie. I'll say two hot chicks making it. um, but yeah, watch that one. Uh, what else did I do yesterday? I played fucking dude. I went back to Ready or Not yesterday, which Ready or Not, if you don't know, is the SWAT simulator game. It's like super realistic or whatever. And I'm at the fucking hospital mission still, dude. And I, I took like a 1 month break from playing it, and maybe that's why the game became so enraging, or like this particular mission became so enraging. I took like a 1 month break from playing it because I got stuck at this one mission. I got stuck at it last time, but this time I'm really fucking stuck at it. Yeah, I had a full like gamer like hitting the controller spaz, like no, like that. That's the type of I haven't had one of those in a while. I've had a few like fucks where you like take off your headset or whatever, but I haven't had a good like smacking the controller against the palm of your hand gamer spaz in a while. Every gamer knows that spaz. Anyone who plays video games knows that type of full spaz out where you're just gritting your teeth and like you can't even form words because every like muscle in your face is contracting at the same time. Yeah, I had one of those type of spaz outs at that game. But then after I played it, I went and I shot some guns with my family. And that was pretty. Just shooting guns is fun. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care how much of a lib you are. Shooting guns is 100% of the time always fun. Even if you miss every shot, it's still fun as fuck. It's still fun as fuck to shoot guns. There was one guy who had like a he made his own targets, which does. I mean, you can buy targets and that's cool and all that, but those things are surprisingly expensive. Like gun shooting targets are super fucking expensive. And so a lot of people like make their own targets and shit. And this one guy did have like a Hitler target that he made. And I was like, I said it quietly when I was at the gun range and stuff because and not be I said it because when you're at a gun range, I feel like most of the people who shoot guns are like Republicans. And I don't mean conservatives. I specifically mean Republicans when I say Republicans. I don't mean, conservatives who just like value traditional things or whatever. I mean Republicans. And so I was like, you should bring a Charlie Kirk target to the range and put the bullseye on his neck right where he got shot. But I said it quietly because I feel like people that are really like super into guns and all that stuff, there is probably a fair amount of them who are just they love guns and all that shit, but I think a lot of them are like Republicans. Like the dudes who wear like tight jeans and shit like that, like tight jeans with combat boots and like tight shirts and stuff, and they take testosterone and they listen to like the Joe Rogan, like that type of Republican. I feel like is very into guns, and I also feel like that type of Republican is also like, how dare you say that about Charlie Kirk? You know what I mean? Like a party line, almost like how the Democrats have like the NPR Democrats and stuff like that. I feel like the equivalent of that for Republicans is like the Joe Rogan Republicans, you know, where they're like in 2016 they were libertarians or whatever, but now because of all the bullshit and stuff, they've been turned into Republicans. I think that's what the right's version of an NPR Democrat is a Joe Rogan Republican. Like a few years ago, they were like, "Yeah, I'll respect people's pronouns or whatever. I don't give a shit. It's your right to do that." And now they're kind of like they're quasi fascists that aren't like brave enough to be fascists. And Same with the left. Really, everybody's a fascist if you think about it. Like, what everyone wants is for other people to agree with them to a certain extent. Like, everyone wants people to agree with them on, like, kind of baseline, maybe not baseline morality, but like baseline politics. Everyone wants everyone else to agree with them. And so, kind of in a way, we're all fascists, if you think about it. Because that's what fascism is all about. It's like everyone, and that's what communism is too. Like all these people being like, "I'm an anti-fascist communist," and it's like that whole like communism thing can really only work if like there's a little sprinkle of fascism in there. Not saying it has to be like full on fascism, but if there's got to be like a little, you know what I mean, when you feed the fish their food and all that stuff and you kind of break it up and you disperse it out there the water, that's kind of what fascism has to be within communism, you know, for communism to really work out. Sorry, my nose is all stuffed right now. It's early in the morning for me. It's currently 11:30, so it's really not early. I shouldn't have like wake up voice right now and like a wake up stuffed nose, but I do. So I'm gonna have to deal with that real quick. I'll try to make it as quiet as possible. All right, there we go. Hopefully, I should be all cleared up right now, so that I can better talk about my nonsense interpretation of Mulholland Drive. But to be fair, a nonsense interpretation of Mulholland Drive is it is, the movie is nonsense, right? So a nonsense interpretation really isn't that far, outside of the realm of things, outside of the realm of possibilities or whatever. Um, but yeah, nothing else has happened. I had a pretty boring New Year's. I did, I think my New Year's plan for 2027, or I guess it's 2026, but like the New Year's Eve of 2027 is to blow my brains out in front of a group of happy couples. I think that would really set the tone for the the year, Just let everyone know, like, oh, you're kissing right now when the balloons are dropping or whatever, and maybe like one couple just got engaged. Welcome to the reality of things. Sometimes a 5'5" fucking, sometimes a 5'5" chud with a podcast decides to blow his brains out in front of everybody. Okay. That's just the reality of life. It's not all fucking, kissing and you know, going home to your fucking dog that you got or whatever. It's not all that shit. Sometimes, sometimes, sometimes a 5'5" dude who's not brave enough to say the N word on a podcast takes a Glock to his head and splatters the wall with bone and blood and brains. Sometimes that's the reality of the situation, okay? And that's the ultimate act of service, I think, is to let people know what life is sometimes. Because sometimes that's life, dude. Sometimes that is what it is. Um, and I guess the other thing that I wanted to talk about before we get into the news. We're obviously going to be talking about the big thing that's going on with Trump when we talk about the news. But yeah, it's not that time yet. I've been getting like random like just like peaks of listens or whatever, and I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. I'm very thankful for it, but it's weird. I'll go from like 0 views in a day, and I don't check it every day. I'll typically check it whenever I record a podcast or whatever, but I've just been getting these random spikes. And so to whoever is, because I think it's all one person who's just like super bored at work. I mean, I'd say at this point you got to quit your job, big dog. You know what I mean? Like that is my message to you. Is quit you if you're so bored at work that you're listening to me talk. I'm not that interesting. I'm not that good at this. You know, if you're that bored at work, I get it. The job market out there is pretty tough right now, so you don't want to quit your job. But I mean, man, like how badly are they torturing you to where you're listening to this? You know what I mean? How bad can it be? Um, to where you're listening to this, because I can't imagine that it's like that it's just like a bunch of different people like listening to it at once. Maybe it is, but I do imagine that that someone's like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe like what it is people like really just need to like numb their brains when they're at work. You know, like that's the point they've gotten to. They're no longer even looking for entertainment. They're just looking to put a syringe of Novocaine directly into their frontal lobe. Maybe that's what it is. Um, but yeah, it's news time, dude. It's time to get into the news. I don't know what I'm gonna do for the episode this week, but it's news time. Like I said, we gotta talk about kind of the big thing that like we obviously all know about it. The articles have just started coming out about Trump and like what he's been doing and like kind of what the overall impact of it is going to be. So this is our first article, and this is from NPR. This is in Yeah. So this is Trump taking too much aspirin? Here's what experts say. No, obviously the big thing that's going on with Trump was uh, they struck Caracas, I believe, Venezuela. It said all I saw was that it struck the capital, and I'm pretty sure Caracas is the capital of Venezuela. So they did some airstrikes on Caracas, and they captured Maduro. And the funny thing about this is, so what I was like looking for an article to read, um, one of the articles was from like I think it was from literally a day ago, and it was Maduro is open to negotiations with Trump, but it says they aren't likely to succeed or whatever. And then today at like 3 in the morning, probably when I was watching Mulholland Drive, fucking they captured Maduro. They hit a few airstrikes on Caracas and they captured Maduro. And the left is freaking out about this, but I think what I was trying to do with this article about Trump taking too much aspirin or whatever is kind of point out how much the left freaks out about everything he does. And this is an understandable freak out. You know what I mean? This is like, is this going to be another forever war? Is America going to destroy another oil rich country? Like, I think those are the questions that people are asking. But I do think we're going to have a return to the early 2000s. I do think that Miami is going to win the national championship this year, and we're going to have a return to like that 2003, like definitely a couple years post 9/11, like that 2003 to like 2012 type of time period. I think if Miami, that's my prediction. If Miami wins the National Football Championship this year, we're going back to the early 2000s. And what that means is some fucking success for the goddamn Steelers. So I'm really rooting for Miami. Um, and so, yeah, I think if Miami wins the national championship, then the bombings in Venezuela are going to, go up and up. I think it's going to be like a Libya type situation. I don't know if anyone will be on the ground in Venezuela, or like very few people will be on the ground in Venezuela. It won't be like Afghanistan, where at some point we had like almost 100,000 fucking people there. I don't think it's gonna be like that. I think it's gonna be a little bit more of like an Obama, Libya situation where we're just gonna like bomb them back to the Stone Age, and then like Chevron and ExxonMobil are gonna take all their oil. That's what it would be if I had to guess. Um, and so, but this article is about Trump taking too much aspirin, and so we're gonna read this article. All right, everyone knows about the airstrikes and shit, and if it doesn't go past this, then this was actually a pretty decent move because this guy is a dictator. Here's the thing: that guy was a fucking or is a fucking dictator. Whatever is was, I guess he's still alive. He is a dictator. I don't know why people are like trying to argue against that. It's like, but at the same time, does that mean that we have to go like rescue that country? I don't know if that necessarily means that. And the really funny thing about this is there's this old clip of Trump talking about Gaddafi, and this is almost like, I wouldn't say the exact same as a Gaddafi. I do think Gaddafi was a way better like leader and stuff than Maduro is, but this is pretty much like a Gaddafi like Libya type situation where we're like, we have to take out this evil dictator, this evil socialist dictator who's like destroying this country. And Maduro's doing way worse shit to Libya or way worse shit to Venezuela than what Gaddafi did to Libya. Like Gaddafi, he probably could have saved the entire continent of Africa. um, so Maduro is way more of a piece of shit than Gaddafi was. But there's this old clip of Trump talking about Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein, and he's like, we like America bombed the shit out of these countries and like destroyed any semblance of a state that these countries had. He basically said that having a dictator is better than having just pure anarchy and no government at all. From a humanitarian perspective, having a dictator is better than having a stateless or a governmentless state that is just kind of pure anarchy. That isn't really a nation state. He said that before he became president. I don't know. I'm sure it was when he was running in like 2015 or whatever. Um, but yeah, I do think that that's kind of funny that he switched up that quick. And obviously he's switching up. Like I said, the president doesn't really make the fucking decisions, dude. Trump, he didn't really make this decision. The only decision he's making is whether or not to take 325 milligrams of aspirin a day. So President Trump said he takes a higher dose of daily aspirin than his doctors recommend, and he has been doing this over 25 years. The comments came in a wide-ranging interview with the Wall Street Journal published Thursday. They no, I'm not gonna do it. They say aspirin is good for thinning out blood, and I don't want thick blood pouring through my heart. Trump 79 told the Journal, "I want a nice thin blood pouring through my heart." Does that make sense? This maybe is one of the funniest Trump quotes ever. I want nice thin blood pouring through my heart. You, you don't want either. You don't want thin blood or thick blood. Like that's the, the consequences of having thick blood are a lot more dire than having thin blood, especially if you have access to healthcare and stuff like that. But I do think it's funny that he doesn't really understand what he's saying. And to be fair, I know very little about like thick blood and blood thinners and all that stuff. I do know that like the whole point of it is to prevent strokes because strokes are caused by I can't remember if it's red blood cells or platelets. It's one of the two that are in your blood, and they like stick together and they block like a blood vessel or whatever, and that's what like a blood vessel going to your brain, and that's essentially what it's basically a blood clot in your brain. That's basically what a stroke is. But Trump thinking it has anything to do with the heart is very like from the quote he's not saying necessarily that it has to do with the heart, but just the fact that he's mentioning the heart at all to me implies that he thinks that having thick blood messes with your heart. And it probably does a little bit, but it's mostly uh, if I'm right, I do think it's mostly like a stroke concern type of thing. So it's very funny. But he's 79 years old. That's really the the overall message that we have to take away from this. The president of the United States of America is a 79-year-old casino magnate who is addicted to pseudoephedrine and he cheats on his wife with porn stars with big fake tits. That's that's the message. And at least and he is also a pedophile. He was on Epstein's he was. Like I don't know how anyone is trying to say that he wasn't. Most of those people were. Like the only in all these other even the politicians that aren't on Epstein's island are like spiritually they were on it. They would go to Epstein's island. You think the rest of these motherfuckers wouldn't go to Epstein's island? No, they just weren't invited or they weren't like old enough or like deep enough into politics yet to get an invite to old Epi Epps Island. You know what I mean? They weren't old enough to hang out with the EpiPen yet. I wonder what cool nickname they had for Epstein. The EpiPen is a pretty sick name, you know what I mean? Like he'll bring you back to life. Like that's what Epstein will do to you. So EpiPen is a pretty sick name. I'm trying to think of another sick name for Epstein. I think the EpiPen is the ultimate nickname for Epstein. So Trump was at Epstein's island, blasted on fucking pseudo and aspirin. So the president takes 325 milligrams of daily aspirin, one adult over the counter pill. So that is 4 times higher than the recommended 81 milligram low dose aspirin used for cardiovascular disease prevention. Yeah, I don't think aspirin is gonna kill you. Like, there was like that whole thing. Like, I remember there's like some book about like a mouse who talks to a kid or some shit. Um, and the kid's like taking aspirin and he gets like fucked up from the aspirin. Apparently, aspirin doesn't like do that to you. That was like a myth. Like, people used to think that if kids took aspirin, it would fuck them up or whatever. Turns out it like doesn't. Aspirin really doesn't do anything, from what I understand. I guess besides thinning blood. So, what do doctors and researchers say? Since 2022, the nation's leading panel of experts in disease prevention, the U.S. Services Task Force, has recommended anyone over 60 not start taking a daily dose of aspirin to prevent cardiovascular disease if they don't already have an underlying problem. The group said it's reasonable to stop preventative aspirin in people already taking it around age 75 years. It's reasonable to stop. Okay, whatever. This is just like a dumb fucking article about how Trump takes too much aspirin. And that's what I was trying to do with that article. That was actually like some David Lynch symbolism there. I just thought it would be funny to talk about Trump's aspirin instead of the strikes on Caracas and the capture of Maduro and all that stuff. Which, if it ends there, then who really gives a shit? Like, a dictator was taken out of a country. I don't know. I don't really care. And people are like, well, they probably killed innocent civilians with those airstrikes. And it's like, dude, welcome to fucking America. What country do you? That's a daily occurrence for us. We're hitting up like Brunei or Malaysia or some shit, dropping a real quick, you know what I mean, Sidewinder missile out of a fucking MQ-9 Reaper. Is that what it's called? MQ-9 Predator. It's one of those two. Just dropping a real quick, which has a drone. Dropping a real quick fucking missile out of a drone on, I don't know, literally name a random thing. We do that constantly. We just never really hear about it because, I don't know, loopholes or whatever. We just don't really. It happens all the time. Yeah, I'm not dismissing the fact that civilians are killed or whatever, but I think overall, if this is where it ends, like I said, it probably won't end here. The people of Venezuela will probably see us stealing all their oil, which they weren't really reaping the benefits of that in the first place. So I don't know how mad they'll be. I don't know if they'll be mad or not. Never met a Venezuelan before. So I don't know if they'll be mad about the fact that we're taking all their oil and shit. But like I said, it's a third world country. They weren't really getting that oil to begin with. It wasn't like what Gaddafi did with the oil, where he like made like national health care and, you know, education, where he like did all that shit. That really wasn't what was going on in Venezuela. So you could argue that Trump's comments about Gaddafi he did believe those and stuff, while still saying that he wasn't like contradicting himself or whatever. But like I said, I don't think Trump made this decision. I think he was given a speech. I think that's what happened, but I don't think he knows how to pronounce Caracas. Is what I'm saying. I don't think Trump knows how to pronounce. He just knows generally that the people who control him, you know, the CIA, the oligarchs, the lobbyists, all that shit. He knows that those people want all the oil from Venezuela. And like I said, I don't think it's the worst. It's the worst one that happened. Or the worst, you know, random like oil forever war that America's gotten involved in. And so this is our next article here. This is from NBC News, and this is woman dies in suspected mountain lion attack. Colorado's first deadly encounter since 1999. 2 mountain lions were euthanized, and a search was ongoing for a third. Necropsies will be performed on the animals, as well as tests for evidence of human DNA. A woman died in a rare suspected mountain lion attack. Once again, this is just a random suspected. They're just killing mountain lions for the sake of it. Hikers told authority they saw a mountain lion near a person who was lying on the ground 100 yards away around 12:15 p.m. on the Crozer Mountain Trail in unincorporated Larimer County, Colorado. Parks and Wildlife said in a news release. Here's my whole thing about this. Motherfucker, you go to the mountains of Colorado, there might be a mountain lion there. Like, why are we trying to make the wilderness completely and fucking utterly safe? It's like, dude, you're there. You're where the fucking mountain lions. It's fucking insane to me that this is like a thing that people could possibly agree with. It's like, yeah, the bitch got killed by a mountain lion. It's gonna fucking, you go out into the middle of the woods, a fucking mountain lion might kill you. You know, if someone drowns in the ocean, we don't fucking try to take all the water out of the ocean. There's water in the ocean. There's mountain lions in the mountains, dum dum. It's literally in the name. It's in the mountain lion. It's a lion that lives in the mountains. If you don't want to fucking see it, don't go to the mountains. Yeah, it sucks that this lady got munched by a mountain lion, but at the same time, it's where they fucking live, dude. You know? Like, it's like, I'm fine with wilderness as long as, you know, nothing dangerous happens. It's the same people who say that bullshit of like, it's kind of like what I said about the ICE thing, where it's like people are like, I'm fine with mass deportations, but not if there's, you know, going to be any abuse of power or whatever, or if civilians get caught in the crossfire. You know, I'm fine with deportations if civilians don't get caught in the crossfire. And it's like, dude, it's just what's going to happen. You can't be like, oh, I want there to be national parks and like untamed wilderness and stuff, and then fucking sit here and say, you can cry about it. It does suck that this lady got munched by a mountain lion or whatever, but like, if you want there to be untamed wilderness in the wild, there's gonna be some fucking untamed shit going on out there. There's gonna be some wild shit going on out there, dude. Lady's gonna get her face munched off by a mountain lion. It's just what's gonna happen out there. Not, and this is the first one since 1999. This is, I don't know. If you have that opinion, you have to be okay with the fact that motherfucker's gonna get eaten by a bear, and it's just what's gonna happen. Bear's hungry, bear wanna eat. Fucking little toddler might get munched, dude. Don't want that shit to happen to you. Don't go into the untamed wilderness. It's not like it's not like you don't have any other fucking options, right? Like most of the 99% of the country doesn't have mountain lions in it. You know what I mean? So if you don't want to get eaten by a mountain lion, don't go to the fucking 1% of places that have mountain lions in them. And yeah, well, and that's, I don't know if this lady or her family or I guess she's not saying anything because she got fucking eaten by a mountain lion. But the fact that the Park Service, the people who are supposed to like make sure that this place remains wild, are killing these mountain lions, or I don't know. It's fucking ridiculous to me. So anyway, the hikers scared the lion away by throwing rocks and then attended to the adult woman. The release said one of the witnesses was a physician and did not find a pulse, said Caravan Who's spokesperson with the Colorado Parks and Wildlife. The victim's identity and cause of death will be released by the Larimer County coroner. All right, so this bitch was probably fucking with this mountain lion to begin with, because they said the hikers scared off the mountain lion by throwing rocks at her or whatever. So this bitch was probably fucking with this goddamn mountain lion, and the mountain lion killed her. Not saying the mountain lion is right in this scenario, but yeah, if you fuck with a mountain lion, it might fucking kill you, dude. I don't know what to say. There were signs that this was consistent with a mountain lion attack, but we cannot say for sure. Van Hoos told reporters Thursday. She said it's believed the woman was hiking alone. Colorado Parks and Wildlife, along with Larimer County Sheriff deputies, Estes Park Police, and Glen Haven area volunteer firefighters, responded and launched an extensive search for mountain lions. Jesus fucking, yeah. If you don't know, Estes Park is like right next to Rocky Mountain National Park. It's like right fucking next to it. So it's like, yeah, we're gonna search for mountain lions out here. It's like, dude, it's a national park. That's where the fuck you're mad at the mountain lions for being where they're supposed to be. It's if anyone is not supposed to be there in this scenario, it's the fucking lady who got her face eaten off by a mountain lion. I don't know if she got her face eaten off, but it's more fun to talk about it that way. If anyone's not supposed to be, like, that's what the point of the national park is. The point of the national park is for it to be unnamed wilderness. So if anyone really, if you think about it, if you think about the actual, like spiritual purpose of the national park, if anyone's supposed to not be there, it's that lady. It sucks that she got her face eaten off by a mountain lion. Feel bad for her family or whatever. But at the same time, it's the purpose of the thing. The thing is supposed to be a fucking, like a wildlife refuge. You're not supposed to hunt there. You're not, the animals are supposed to be allowed to do whatever the fuck they want to do when they're there. If this was a neighborhood or whatever, okay, maybe. I still think it's kind of retarded, but it's a national park, or it's right next to a national park. So they did an extensive search for mountain lion. They were aided by a Colorado Parks and Wildlife biologist who was conducting aerial deer surveys in the county and houndsmen with dogs to track the scent of mountain lions. One mountain lion was located at the scene, but it ran away when officers shot it. It was tracked by officers and euthanized. But why? Euthanized for public safety? Okay, I just, it makes me so fucking angry. It's just so stupid. It's so dumb. It's the wilderness, dude. It's where the mountain lions are supposed to be. You don't want them in your cities. Okay, I understand that. But the only other option left is the fucking wilderness, right? It's the only other place they're supposed to be. You know, this isn't, this lady was going into where the mountain lions are supposed to be. No. It's just fucking retarded, I think. All right, and so this is our final article. Helicopter crashes in Arizona mountains, killing 4 people aboard. So this is from Superior, Arizona. 4 people were killed when a helicopter crashed Friday in the mountains in Arizona, officials said. The crash near Telegraph Canyon, about 64 miles east of Phoenix, took place around 11 a.m. All 4 people were killed, including the 59-year-old pilot and 2 21-year-old women, and a 2 21-year-old women and a 22-year-old woman. Our prayers are with the victims of the family. So this is the thing about helicopter crashes. This is the thing about it. A plane crash is a tragic, horrible event where innocent, everyday fucking people going to see their families died. That's what a plane crash is. It's what it is 100% of the time. A helicopter crash is usually people who deserve it. I'll say that about, if you're in a helicopter, you know what I mean? Like if you're a military guy in a helicopter, okay, that's one thing. To me, in my personal opinion, anyone else in a helicopter, I feel like you have that coming for you. You know what I mean? That's, I'm not, if you're in a helicopter, it's like the bitch going into the forest. You know, I feel like a helicopter has a certain level of entitlement to it where it's like you really think you're going to fucking go up in this like piece of man-made machinery and just like perfectly hover around and shit and just like dominate nature and all that stuff. You know, that's kind of the feeling that a helicopter gives me. It's like you kind of you, if you're in a helicopter, you deserve to die. You know what I mean? If you're in a helicopter and you're not like some military dude who's just like transporting ammo or whatever, even if you are a military dude, you know, that's kind of why people don't sign up for the military. The reason people don't sign up for the military is because they don't want to die. You know, or I should say this, if you're in a helicopter crash, you should expect death. Maybe you don't deserve to die, but you should expect it. To me, the helicopter has a certain feeling of hubris to me that just a regular old plane doesn't have. You know, that's the feeling that I get from a helicopter. I feel like it's the hubris of man incarnate, and so pride comes before the fall. And in this case, literally, the pride of thinking that you're just going to get up in this thing and fly around and to have complete dominion over nature and all that stuff, that's a certain amount of pride. And it came before a literal fall in which the helicopter crashed into the ground near Superior, Arizona. All right, that's all I've got for this episode. I got to do notes today, and I got to fucking just got some other shit to do. But I hope you guys have a good day, a good week, a good year, a good life. Don't get in a helicopter. And if you're in the fucking woods and a mountain lion mauls you to death, your last thought should be, I kind of had this coming. That's what your last thought should be. All right. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace. Have a good day, good week, a good year, a good life. Peace.